The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Danny Laurel. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping says China is open to resuming talks on a possible joint oil and gas exploration with the Philippines. Reuters quoted Xi as saying that he is willing to do it in the non-disputed areas of the South China Sea. Xi made the statement as he met with President Bongbong Marcos, who wraps up his 3-day state visit in Beijing today. President Marcos, for his part, said they discussed possible steps to avoid mistakes and misunderstandings in the future. Beijing's sweeping claims in the South China Sea, which is rich in oil and gas, have been a source of tension in the region. President Bongbong Marcos said Chinese leader Xi has promised to compromise and find a solution for Filipino fishermen to be able to fish in the disputed waters. The president said he was finally able to bring up the plight of Filipino fishermen during his bilateral meeting with Xi. The meeting yielded 14 bilateral agreements, one of which sought to establish a communication mechanism for maritime issues.
On the political front, we also discussed what we can do to move forward to avoid any possible mistakes, misunderstandings that could trigger a bigger problem than what we already have. The President promised that we will find a compromise and find a solution that will be beneficial so that our fishermen might be able to fish again in their natural fishing ground.
Now, prior to meeting with the Chinese President, Marcos Jr. also met with Li Zhanshu, the chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress. According to House Speaker Martin Romualdez, Li hoped that the future talks on the disputed waters would be exclusive between China and the Philippines.
Just decided that we'll try to emphasize where we have common interests, where we have a lot of cooperation currently. We will leverage on that goodwill, and we will leverage on all that political diplomatic capital. And I think it's been resolved that we can discuss the contentious issues in a very amicable manner bilaterally.
Finance Chief Ben Diokno says the two countries signed 4 loan deals worth $201.8 million to finance the Pasig-Marikina River and Mangahan floodway bridges. This comes as China vows to support the Philippines' infrastructure, energy, and agriculture sectors. Now, following his meeting with Chinese leaders, Marcos Jr. says he's hopeful that the Philippines' partnership with China will further strengthen in the coming years.
I have believed that I have always stated that the partnerships that we make in the next few years will be partnerships that will stabilize and strengthen all our economies so that we are able to face the challenges and the different shocks that now we are already beginning to feel and will continue to feel in the next few years.
All right, now checking in on the markets this Thursday morning. First, the index jumping to 67.57 this morning. That's up a hefty 2.9% in just the past 3 days of trade, which also, of course, is the past couple of days of 2023. Now, let's take a quick peek at which ones are actually bringing the wars up. Just to show you the year-to-date, which, of course, is just a few days in 2023, is up already by 2.7%. And let's take a quick peek at the biggest movers here so far. Mondonisen up by 10.7%, PLDT and ASEN. And in the 1 day, of course, let's see whether those gains were extended in the same manner. A bit of a reversal actually, with Mondonisen opening in the red and PLDT as well down by 4%. You've got the likes of Mega World and BPI, which of course is looking into that duplication of transactions towards the latter end of last year or December. They are actually up by 2.2% after feeling a bit of a slump yesterday. And of course, all of these movements come amid the inflation print that we just reported came out at around 9 in the morning. That's 8.1% for the month of December. The estimate was 8.2%, according to some analysts surveyed by Bloomberg. So we are more or less in line with the estimates, slightly better. And on the back of that, we do seem to be enjoying a bump up of some names like URC and Pure Gold, which are our consumer stocks. Now, I did want to check, of course, the mining and oil counter amid, all of the news that's been going around with, of course, the president's visit to China. In this moment, it's actually down by 0.2%. But let me take a quick peek at how it's been in the past, year to date, or the past 3 days at least of trading. And you will see that it's been a massive amount of rallying here, up by 6.4%, led by Apex Mining and Nickel Asia. When you look at PXP Energy, which of course has some interest in the South China Sea West Philippine Sea disputed areas, that's up by 1.7%. Again, on the back of China willing to restart the talks on oil and gas. Now, a couple of other stocks that I wanted to watch out for, BPI in particular. How's that doing after the BSP said that they are waiting for some explanations here, and BPI did mention or assure their clients that their accounts are safe and secure. BPI up by 2 pesos and 60 centavos, back to 100 pesos and 9 centavos. And finally, a quick peek on a couple of telco stocks. Of course, PLDT was in the foray towards the latter end of 2022 on that budget overspend. They have more of an explanation here. They did mention that the tepid market for the adoption of 5G handsets led to the deferment of the 5G rollout, even as the company already ordered equipment, completed the projects, and led to that 48 billion peso cost overrun. So what they did mention that, they did the spending, however, the, rollout of the 5G handsets was not as good as expected. And finally, let's take a quick peek at Converge as one of their biggest movers yesterday, pulling back a touch, but nevertheless still up by 4.7% after it rose to a 1-month high after it got a Singapore license to provide connectivity services and fiber optic cable capacity there. So very interesting times here for Converge getting a Singapore license. Now we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Dani Laurel. Now, China has softened towards the country's tech giants in the face of a slumping economy and backlash from the way the government is handling the pandemic. More details in this report by Bloomberg Quick Take.
Xi Jinping spent the past few years reining in China's tech giants. Now, as he faces a backlash over his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Chinese premier is discovering he might need them. In mid-2020, Alibaba and Tencent seemed on track to become trillion-dollar companies. Then, everything changed. Concerned about their rising influence, Xi targeted the e-commerce giant Alibaba for perceived monopolistic conduct, and Tencent, which owns the super app WeChat, for its tight grip on music streaming rights. Other tech firms came into the firing line too. That appears to be changing, judging by an economic planning meeting in December.
During that meeting, he signaled strong support for the tech sector. That's because after COVID zero policies, the Chinese economy is really tanking. So right now, he needs a new way to fire up the economy again. That's why he looked at tech, because tech has been the Chinese growth engine for the past decade.
That doesn't mean it's a return to business as usual for China's tech giants, but life might start to get just a little bit easier.
Meanwhile, BPI says it has resolved the duplicate transactions recorded during the New Year's Eve shopping rush. In a Facebook post, BPI announced the quote successful resolution of the technical glitch which alarmed depositors. The bank warned users though that they may have a hard time accessing their web and mobile platforms. Still, BPI assures their customers that their accounts are safe. Now, for a cybersecurity expert, there are no indications that the duplicate transactions were caused by a cyber attack. But the expert says BPI should exert more effort in maintaining its software.
This is the second time that it happened. No, maybe they should put in more checks and balances in their systems. As BPI management should take more efforts and institute more efforts to really control whatever is being done, especially when it comes to the maintenance of the software.
And an economist says the PSE's target of 14 initial public offerings this year is feasible. RCBC's chief economist Mike Ricafort says companies are now more decisive on their investment plans amid the economy's further reopening. He added that improving market conditions encourages more conglomerates to raise funding through the stock market. Now, of the potential 14 listing applicants this year, 11 companies and real estate investment trusts will mostly list on the main board. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Join us again at 11:15 a.m. I'm Danny Laurel. We are One News, all sides, all the time.